Good evening. We are at the Faculty of Letters, Northern University Center in Baia Mare. We are here with Marcy Darling and the team, the beautiful team who worked on the movie that we are going to see today at 5 p.m. And we are going to have a little discussion with them. First of all, thank you for being here. And to begin with, I just want to ask you, how do you feel today and what are your impressions of the city, considering all the research that has been put into the film before? And if I dare say so, does it stand up to like your expectations?
Hi, I'm Marcy Darling. I'm the director, producer, creator of the Nita and Zita project. I've done extensive research for the last couple of years. I actually have a big article coming out on Nita and Zita in January in the Journal of Southern Jewish History. But for the film, I did a lot of research on Baia Mare and what it was before it became Baia Mare, which was Nagibanya. I know I don't pronounce it correctly, Hungary. But in my mind, it was very much a fairy tale city because of the church spires and the beautiful architecture and imagining these sisters dreaming their big dreams about becoming dancers and performers. And I wasn't sure what to expect, but it has been so enchanting. All the beautiful spires. We've been walking around Old Town all day today and just walking on the cobblestone streets where they ran and where they lived and where they went to school. We got to go see where the older sister, Flora, whose name is Nita, in the doc, she went to school at, it was an all-girls school. I can't remember the name of it. But it was really incredible. It's now kind of dilapidated and falling apart, but it's just amazing to see and imagine her back in 1911 poking her head out of a window and what she saw, and it's right by the river, and it's just been really, really a magical, magical town.
Bună ziua. I'm Sharon Gillen, the producer, one of the producers on the Nita and Zita project. And it's just so magical and special to be here because my family is from Romania, this area of Romania. And this is the second time I've been to Romania, but I've never been to Baia Mare. And just being here feels just so wonderful. And something that it's a beautiful city. The city is just gorgeous. Something that really struck me was that earlier today when we were walking around the town, Robert was telling us how the city used to be a city of artists and how there was an artist school that was started here in the late 1800s. And that makes a lot of sense because we were always looking for like why Nita and Zita, traveled internationally or wanted to go to the US or were, so drawn to like their artistic, to being dancers and being artists. And we could see that the city has always been, it's had its roots in artistry and beauty. And so, yeah, it's just really exciting to be here and thank you all so much. Another thing that I was really thought was very, it's terrible, but one of the reasons that I was drawn to helping Marcy make this movie is that the story of these sisters, the fact that they were Jewish, and so many Jews in Baia Mare died in the Holocaust. And then since the atrocities of October 7th, I was very called to tell Jewish stories. And so when Marcy approached me with this story and the fact that my family is also from Romania, I thought it was the perfect story to tell. And I'm just so happy to be here, and this feels like a complete dream. I don't even feel like this is real. And thank you so much for having us, and now I'm gonna turn it over to Stephanie.
Just to respond to the question that you asked, it was just so incredible today to walk down streets and looking at the town that they would have looked at with their eyes, children growing up and getting ready to leave, and just knowing that I shared that, that place, that vision with them.
Stephanie did the music, which is a key very, very important part of filmmaking. There's really no emotion to any movie if there is not music. It is absolutely key to telling a story. And I was very, I've known Stephanie since 1988. We were in voice class together and dancers and in the circus together. And she had her own circus that I was part of. But she had a band that had all this really incredible music, very vaudeville punk that sounded very Eastern European. So we were able to use a bunch of her songs. She composed many songs for the film. You'll see there's a section that takes place in a cemetery, and I would call her and say, I need Shalom Havarim, sung a cappella by tomorrow. And she'd just send this gorgeous, her singing it in a round while she was sick with COVID. We were so, so lucky to have her on the music team. And I would send her, I need drums, I need burlesque sounding music or dance music, and then within a couple of days I would have the perfect recording. So very lucky to have someone with her incredible talent.
Hi, thank you for having us here. I'm Courtney Michael Nelson, an associate producer on this movie, and Marcy has been a friend of mine for a long time, and I saw her get into burlesque and belly dance and then become very involved in Nita and Zita and their wardrobe. And I went to almost every one of her performances with her friend Kim, who you'll see in the movie. So it's been a real honor to see the backstory, how my friends came up with some of their choreography and some of their costumes from these two sisters. And bringing us all here to Romania together has been really amazing. Your town has been welcoming, and we love your square and those dessert things with the donuts. Okay, papanache, the papanache. I will be having another one of those tomorrow. Just want to shout out to the papanache. Yeah, so thank you for welcoming us to the town.
Thank you for all the kind words. As a local, this really means a lot, and I'm very happy to see that the city welcomed you very nicely. Now, I'd really like to know, how did you come to know their story? Why them specifically? Yeah. What?
Yeah, so when I was in 1996, I was in New Orleans, and I was wandering through the French Quarter, and I was in a bar one night, and I saw a picture of Piroshka Gellert, who's one of the sisters. You'll see the picture. And I talk about it in the movie. It felt like lightning struck. I really just fell in love with this photo. It was everything I love, 1920s, old movie star makeup. And I literally floated over to it, was like, who is this? What is this story? And it had this little tiny story around it saying that they danced in palaces for kings and queens. And I'm like, who? I was a dancer at the time, and I have a radar for vintage makeup, costumes, and dance. So the next day I was wandering around and ended up in this junk shop, which I would call a treasure shop. And they had all these tattered costumes hanging from the ceiling, and they were costumes that belonged to Nita and Zita. As a dancer, a previous dancer, I was obsessed with costumes and dancers. So the way the story got out is because after they died, they were recluses at the end of their lives, the last 30, 40 years, in New Orleans. After they died, their neighbor found thousands of costumes and clothing and items made from found objects. So they took cigarette foil and made pom-poms and fringe out of cereal boxes and pasta lids, and they turned it into tin can crowns. Really unbelievable. This kind of stuff doesn't stay around, which is why we were never exposed to it. But because they were recluses, it stayed together. So she held a yard sale that lasted 5 years, and all of their items went out into the world, which is how it ended up in the junk shop. It was at many shops around the French Quarter. People all over the world have items that were made by the sisters. So that is how I found them. When I went home to Los Angeles, I was a burlesque dancer. They were acrobat contortionist dancers, which I was as well. Well, Kim was more contortionist. I was more contortionist illusionist. But they did a whole, we had an act based on them, which we performed at the Viper Room, Luna Park, all over. Stephanie sang for us many times during our live shows. We didn't have any information on them, just their names. And then it was actually a few years later that I found out about the yard sale and all the items and costume pieces. And I wasn't planning on making a documentary, but I've been carrying around pictures of them, like dancers and outsider artists, as we call ourselves, are very drawn to this story, and we almost choose them to be ancestors of ours, like Mae West and Betty Davis and all these stars that give you courage to be yourself. That is what Nita and Zita became for us. So I carried around their picture for years, and then in 2023, I had been looking for a film subject for a while. I'm a writer, but I wanted to make a movie and tell stories that way. I woke up from a dream, and I just knew what I needed to do. There's even more to that story in there. My best friend and dance partner, Kim, who had died a few years earlier, and this was my homage to her, and I was very driven to make it. I was working 24 hours a day around the clock for a year with this very fiery obsession. So that is how I ended up finding the story, and then what compelled me to make the film.
So you could almost say you didn't choose the subject for the movie, but like it kind of chose you.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, considering you put so much effort into it and passion, what was the biggest challenge in making the film, in your opinion? To anyone who wants to say something, this question is for everyone.
I would say they were dancers, they were performers, they changed their names all the time. That made researching extremely difficult because I had to come across, I had to try out many different spellings, their names were misspelled, and they also changed their own name. I figured they must have done this because I also love to change my name. So I'm like, well, I'm just gonna try, and I managed to just keep unveiling piece by piece their story, and it was incredibly challenging. As with all movies, I mean, money is always a huge hurdle to overcome. I started it as a free 5-minute short on my phone. That was the plan. It quickly grew to be something much bigger. I mean, we had a crew, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing, and we just figured it out as we went.
Like you said, like the subject matter chose Marcy. I felt like even though a movie is very difficult to make and we really didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, because we're both first-time filmmakers, once everything started going, it kind of made itself. Marcy put in a ton of work. It wasn't like it made.
She says that because she wasn't working around the clock.
I said it just made itself. Marcy did. Marcy did a ton of work, but I feel like everything was synchronicity. Like everything just worked.
Yeah. Tell them about the research at the historic.
So there was no information about Nita and Zita, and people were saying, how are you going to make a documentary if there's no information on the subject matter?
No video.
And no video. Well, right as Marcy decided we're going to make this movie, the historic New Orleans collection came into a huge amount of information about the sisters it was actually somebody had thrown in the trash, and
Somebody else
pulled it out of the trash, and all these records appeared. Records, more costumes, lots of information about where they danced. So we have a lot of archival photos in the movie because of that. So like all this information just appeared for us.
Yeah. Many people have done the story of Nita and Zita as plays, as art, as performing art, as songs, as over the years since the 90s, fashion shows, like many, many things, but there was no information. There was only myths and rumors that people would spread about them. None of it was corroborated. So the fact that we were able to do it now, as they're digitizing records, we were able to find at the New England Genealogical Society, I was able to find all their travel records. So that was step one in like unleashing all this information. And then the Historic New Orleans collection, I happened to call their curator of rare books, is a burlesque dancer. And she's like, we have a bunch of boxes of their stuff that we haven't even digitized yet. And it was items that Nita and Zita kept themselves. They kept a lot of their flyers. Because they made signs around their house of them being stars. In their old age, they still lived as if they were stars and in their own mind. So they put stars up and they put glitter up with their names and they danced around their house and they took photos of each other and they saved it all. And then whoever, the neighbor who took over all their stuff, she saved it all as well. So we were super, super lucky when she was put into a home that somebody brought it into the historic collection.
In today's day and age, quite a lot of the societal problems that used to be the main subject in life are still around, sadly. But how do you think your film reflects on the struggle for independence or for freedom or for the female affirmation?
One of the things that I love so much about their story is that they were two little girls at a time when women had even less rights than we do now, and they had big dreams and they made them happen. Nothing stopped them. They didn't have money, they didn't have a trust fund. They found ways to make the money and they found ways to make it work. So it's shocking to me that we're still dealing with the exact same issues today, 100 years later. I'm hoping that I think the movie really appeals to people who love the story of people who paved their own path, and they did not follow what society expected of them. They were like, this is what we're doing. No one's going to tell us no, and we're going to make it happen, and they did. People were shocked that these two women were Jewish women traveling all over the world alone for many, many years, over 30 years. So they were in Berlin in 39, they were in Shanghai in 37 during the Battle of Shanghai, all these times of unbelievable unrest. They lived through World War I here, saw the White Terror, saw the repercussions on the Jewish community, and they still wanted to create. They still lived in joy. My own personal opinion is that being very creative is a way of processing grief and loss and difficult emotional things. I think that's why they were able to manage their grief for so long and in their world. So this is one of the reasons I think people adopt them as ancestors, is because they just had so much chutzpah and blazed their own trails. We don't get to see that often in history. Not because it wasn't happening, it was. Just nobody shines a light on it.
Oh, that was all. Thank you so much for all the answers. The answers were amazing. You covered so much information. And thank you for being here. And we wish you good luck with all of your future projects.
If you want to learn more about the Nita and Zita project, go to www.nitazitaproject.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at Nita Zita Project. And you'll get a lot more information about the movie, and I hope everyone likes the film. It has a lot more information in it that we just covered, so thank you.
Thank you, too. Bună ziua, suntem cu domnul Robert Cotos, președintele Asociației Maramureș Heritage. Câteva cuvinte, dacă ne puteți spune, vă rog, despre prezentarea de film din această seară.
Bună, bine v-am găsit. Ce să zic, eu le-am descoperit pe Nita și Zita undeva în 2022, iar de atunci am lucrat constant pentru a le aduce în Baia Mare și în 2025 s-a ivit ocazia ca să le aduc în Baia Mare. Iată, după 3 ani de zile în care am promis băimărenilor că o să le aduc acasă, ele se întorc acasă și mă bucur să fie alături de noi atât regizoarea cât și producătoarea acestui documentar și sper ca băimărenilor să le placă această poveste despre două fete de ale noastre, că sunt ale noastre, chiar dacă au trăit ulterior în Statele Unite. Și cine știe, poate va ajunge acest documentar și în alte cinematografe sau în alte săli de prezentare.
Se simte că are foarte mult potențial și este un subiect la care ar trebui să-i acordăm mult mai multă atenție și faceți o muncă minunată pentru această oportunitate.
Vă mulțumesc frumos și vizionare plăcută vă doresc.
Mulțumim și noi!
Welcome to Baia Mare! Și mulțumesc și vouă că ați venit azi aici. Sunt un număr relativ mare. Nu o să vă mint, poate mă așteptam la o sală plină. Asta e nimic, glumesc, evident. Mulțumesc și Facultății pentru primire și găzduire și pentru buna colaborare de până acum. Și înainte să îi dau cuvântul domnului Prodecan, o să vă rog ca la finalul filmului să rămâneți 10-15 minute. Dacă aveți întrebări pentru Marcy și Sharon, ele sunt aici. O să vă răspundă cum au ajuns la poveste, de ce au ajuns la poveste, de ce Nita și Zita. Și, mă rog, ce alte întrebări aveți voi, nu o să vi le spun eu. Oana o să mă ajute cu traducerea pentru Doamne, engleza mea e așa mai rusofonă un pic și nu vreau să vă scârție pe creier. Așa că vă mulțumesc și, domnul Prodecan.
Mulțumesc frumos. Bună ziua și bine ați venit la acest eveniment aparte. Nu avem ocazia foarte des să urmărim un film documentar, cu atât mai mult cu cât acesta de astăzi, iată, anunță o temă pe care n-am așteptat neapărat, nu ne-am gândit la ea. Eu sunt foarte curios să văd, să urmăresc acest documentar. Doresc doar să felicit inițiativa colegilor, organizatori. Noi, în calitate de parteneri, prin colegii care s-au implicat, am fost bucuroși să găzduim evenimentul și să ne implicăm în organizare. Nu vreau să vă mai spun foarte multe, vizionare plăcută și discutăm după.
Dacă aveți întrebări pentru ele, sau do you want to say a few words before asking?
Yes, I would love to say thank you so much to all of you for making the time to come out to see our movie.
Cred că înțelegeți, așa încerc să vă trag chiar. Bun, you can speak.
We call it our scrappy handmade tale of wonder, and we're just so appreciative of everybody who takes the time to watch it, and I know it's a busy world out there, so thank you.
Sharon, do you want to say a few words?
Hi, I'm Sharon Gillen. I'm one of the producers on the Nita and Zita project.
No, it's okay. V-auziți? Da, it's okay.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having us. We're very grateful to be here, and thank you all for coming out to see our movie. We really appreciate it.
And thank you to Robert for hosting us.
Absolutely.
And Teeny, who's up there, who I emailed and asked questions to. And thank you so much. Robert has highlighted Nita and Zita on his page and stayed in contact and told me that every time I had a discovery, yeah, I know where that is. It was really great to have the support of people. So thank you, Robert.
Yes. Mulțumesc, Timi. Timi le-a descoperit cu ele acum. Că, da, de acolo încolo am preluat eu, cu ajutorul lui, bineînțeles, și cu ajutorul lor. Dacă aveți întrebări pentru Marcy, să nu vă fie rușine, nu mușcă. Azi am plimbat prin oraș toată ziua, sunt foarte, foarte încântate de oraș. You don't buy.
Okay, I wanted to ask how long did the research take?
Yes. Well, the research was very long. I discovered them in the 90s, and slowly pieces of the story unfolded, but it was all just rumors and myths. Once I decided to actually start the research, it was 2023, January, but I was basically working around the clock, like 24 hours a day. So it was a full year, but it was super obsessive. So it wasn't a year of an occasional checking it out. It was like me being crazy at 2 in the morning, like trying to find things. So it took about a year. I actually have spent the last since 2 years writing an article up for my research. That is a lot of the movie, but also a lot more comprehensive about everything that was going on around with performers and Jewish community here, and in New York and New Orleans, and that will be published in January.
Great. Thank you.
First of all, I want to compliment you on such a lovely and very imaginative, creative film.
Thank you.
My question is, it seems to me that you did a lot of research of their lives in United States once they left Baia Mare. But have you done any research of their lives here? Can you tell us something?
Yes, I have done. I don't read Romanian or Hungarian, so I've been limited by that, but I absolutely have done, especially the article coming up, extensive research. I didn't have any information on Baia Mare except for the little bit of like talking to Timeea and Robert and Daniel Molnar. People were experts.
I want to know their lives. Like,
Yes.
did they go to a dancing school? How did they develop here?
Well, we wanted to know that too. We had no. We could only go by records. There was a rumor that Perushka met Nijinsky on a train in Hungary, and that he was quite taken with her. He was here.
Records of them, of Flora, going to school here from 5th grade to 8th grade in the school that's now dilapidated and falling down. The girls' school.
Yeah. Yes, but we don't have record of their dance school. I don't have, because they didn't keep records, but if I could find them, then I would love that. I really wanted to know as well how she learned to dance, where did this come from. We looked high, low, all around. The Nijinsky story I could not corroborate, so I could not include it. It is possible because he was here on house arrest. So with his wife was Romanian, Hungarian. So he was. It's possible, but she would have been a child. Like she was born in 1904, so he was here in 1917. She was only 15 years old when she was touring Transylvania in 1919, 1920. So she would have been very young.
Thank you.
But we're looking. There's actually, Budapest has many music hall records, but they're all in Hungarian, they're not digitized. But in my research for the article, I read probably 60 books on this teen era in Hungary and trying to find out and understand and see if I could see what was going on all around them. Because I kept hearing differing stories of like, the Jewish people were persecuted, the Jewish people were not persecuted, the Jewish people were part of the community and they had businesses and they had rights and everything was great for them in Hungary, but no, the White Terror was going on, World War I was going on, and they were, restricted from school. So I kept getting all these contrasting information, not being there firsthand. I don't know what the truth was, so I presented it as I learned it. But anything that I hear, I have to corroborate with hard data, or I wasn't able to include it unless I include it as a myth. I'd love to find out more. I actually was talking to Wana about, you're Wana, yes? About the photographs of Baia Mare from 1895 to 1922, because I would love to know more about what it looked like here. Robert was telling us today it was a mining town, which I didn't even know, because their father was named as a merchant, a local merchant. So I knew something about the mines, but I didn't know what it had to do with the family. But what was the street they were on again?
Pietrosului, today. E lângă poliția acolo, în centru vechi. Casa, din păcate, nu cred că mai e aceeași, că nu știm numărul. We don't know the number for the house.
Yeah, we don't know the number, but Robert said that was a street full of miners' homes. So I don't know what the father sold, just one newspaper called him a local merchant. And documents say he was a landowner as well, so I don't know what that means.
They were not from Baia Mare, their parents, that is important to say. They came to Baia Mare later, the girls' parents. You told me that they were from Matesalca. So one of the
sisters was born in Matesalca, and then the other, Perushka was born here, but the father, his last name was Grun, Grun,
and
shortened from
he only writes his name later, became Gellert from Grun.
The mother's last name was Herskovits, but they named the children Geller. So this is why I could not find the family for until after I finished the documentary. Timeea was trying to help me find the family. We could find nothing until I finally had a genealogical expert tell me that the name had been changed. which was a common practice.
So
back
yeah,
then.
we found out a lot of information after the film was finished.
Yeah, with research. So I only included what I could find. Any other questions?
I have a question. What is the current state of burlesque art right now in America? Would you say it's going through a revival or the opposite?
Great question. Burlesque art is, I mean, it went through a new kind of renaissance in the 90s. They now call that neo-burlesque. I was dancing burlesque myself in the 90s. We didn't call it neo-burlesque, we just called it burlesque. And our act was acrobatic, contortionist, comedic. It is just continued to grow since the 90s. Dita Von Teese, who was in the film, is a massive star. Fills houses night after night after night after night. We just went and saw her in Vegas.
She has a show that's actually coming to Europe.
Yeah, in London.
In London.
In January. So there's stars like her who are doing the massive breakout, millions of dollars of flights. Like her show's incredible. It's well worth seeing, super glamorous. But there's, tons of burlesque happening in every single city all over the world. Probably maybe even here. I don't know. Is there?
Not yet.
I have a radar for finding it, so if I end up finding any, I'll let you know. But, that people are doing it for free, people are doing it anywhere, at cafes, at any stage they can possibly, in their own living rooms, anything. Can't keep the dancers down. So yes, it's still going, and just getting stronger.
That's good, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I was going to say that Stephanie did our music. Without music, there is no emotion to any kind of movie at all, and we're so amazed and so lucky to have had her. She literally just took on the project and ran with it in the most incredible ways. All the singing in the cemetery and stuff was
Yeah, she
Stephanie.
sang to me today in Romanian. It was pretty impressive, yes.
Yeah, she can sing in rounds, she records herself, so I mean, it was really, really incredible, because without the music, it would have been, I don't know what it would have been. It wouldn't have been what it is. So we're super, super lucky to have had her on the project.
Have you traveled with the film to festivals?
Yes.
Have
Yes.
you been to Israel? Because there is the Festival of Jewish Life in Jerusalem once a year.
So-
Maybe you should show it.
That's a really great idea. We've traveled all around the United States with the film, and we have distribution in the US and Canada, but we don't have international distribution, so we do want to continue to take the film around Europe, maybe Israel. That's a great idea.
There's been quite a bit of unrest in Israel lately, so we might wait for things to simmer down.
Don't worry, the festivals are going on.
Really?
I'm
Well,
serious
then we are
about
going to take that into
I'm
consideration.
serious about it. Have you had it in Toronto? There is the Jewish festival in May.
Yeah, we did not have it at the Toronto Jewish Film Festival, but we had it at many other festivals around North America. So we kind of just traveled with it all last year. Until the festival circuit, as they call it, is kind of like the vaudeville circuit. You just take your movie around and show it and hope people love it. But the goal of the festival is to get distribution.
The goal of the festival is to get distribution, and luckily we were in a festival in Los Angeles. We showed at the Greenwich Chinese Theater, which is a very famous theater in Los Angeles, and an old theater. Not as old as the things you have here, but we were picked up by a distributor there, and now it's on Apple TV. You can see it on Apple TV and many other platforms, universities, and also libraries. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, it's available in the SWANK database for universities, libraries, cruise ships, hospitals, all of those kinds of things, as well as YouTube movies, any kind of digital platform.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for attending.
Thank you very much.